What exactly do we know
Yeah.
about the FTC's lines of inquiry here pertaining to acquisitions?
So they are going to be looking at all of the acquisitions Facebook's made, or at least some of them. And there's many, there's dozens. And we only know some of the big ones, of course. There's Instagram, WhatsApp, Oculus, those get all the attention. There are many other smaller acquisitions. And what we're starting to hear is that they're going to be reaching out to, people who were involved in those deals to try and get a sense for, did Facebook make these purchases, these acquisitions for the right reasons, and right now that's really kind of the new element that has come up in the last couple hours.
Now, Facebook, as you mentioned, they've acquired 90 companies over the last 15 years. Ashkan, the FTC is reportedly concerned about Facebook's attempt to thwart the competition or buy companies that would threaten Facebook's own app. I don't understand. Isn't a company buying another company one of the primary reasons that companies do that is because they're going to be competition, right?
Right. And so the FTC, as you know, launched in June this technology task force to investigate and look at antitrust matters, including acquisitions. One of the things to think about, that group is stocked mostly from people from the mergers portion of the FTC, from the mergers division. And so they're going to be looking at whether these acquisitions were done in a way that kind of harms competition in the market or is anti-competitive in any way.
So were you there when the FTC approved the acquisition of Instagram and WhatsApp? Because there is some reporting that the acquisition of Instagram at least brought some discomfort to the commission. They weren't quite comfortable with it, but also didn't think that they could necessarily win if they challenged it.
I wasn't involved in that matter, and I don't believe I was there during that decision. The thing to think about is a lot of the decisions or a lot of the considerations are, for example, around the definition of the market these companies occupy. So WhatsApp was a messaging or communications app, whereas Facebook could have been seen as a social networking app. If you think of them as data acquisition apps for the purpose of advertising, then your analysis differs. And I think people are coming around to the perception that it's not just about the sector you occupy, but it's the fact that you combine the data across these sectors to further advertising goals or to further kind of data collection goals.
Now, Kurt, there are some other companies in question here. For example, a company called Onavo Mobile, which is a company many of us might not have heard of. Facebook used their behavior tracking technology to target companies that would make good acquisitions. Tell us about that.
Onavo was an app that people would kind of download on their phone. It offered a VPN, a virtual private network, and what it basically did was it routed internet activity through Facebook, and so Facebook could kind of see, what apps were people downloading to their phone, what websites were they visiting, that kind of thing. It gives them a sense of what is popular, what's kind of growing. It's a way to, kind of spy on the competition a little bit without maybe spying on the competition. And we've been told repeatedly, this is not really a surprise or a secret, that Facebook used that data to, figure out what is the up-and-coming app of the moment, where should we be paying attention, and, who should we potentially try to acquire.
Now, Ashkan, many of the people who worked at these companies still work at Facebook. Obviously, the founders of Instagram and WhatsApp have left, but these companies are deeply embedded in Facebook and Facebook's culture. What would the remedies be if the FTC determined that there was an antitrust issue here?
Right. I mean, so there are many remedies. I know a lot of people jump to things like breaking up the company. It's currently a topic of the political debate in the upcoming election, the 2020 election. The thing to think about is that simply just breaking up the company would do little if the other people that would build the technology are still at the company and in fact could just reproduce their, the functionality themselves, right? So other remedies, for example, the German competition authority has, one of the concerns around competition restricts Facebook from sharing data collected between, say, WhatsApp and their products like Instagram or the Facebook Messenger app. They also restrict the tracking of information from kind of the web, Facebook like buttons and others from being shared with the other apps. So remedies could be injunctions on behavior. We talked about it in light of the Facebook data privacy settlement that was announced a week or two ago. But there's a lot of overlap in terms of what remedies could be brought forth.
Meantime, Kurt, the DOJ has opened an investigation, antitrust investigation, broadly into big tech. Do we know yet, or have any indication of what this means for Facebook specifically?
I don't think we know specifically, but I think if you look at the digital ad market, that seems to me to be the most likely area where Facebook might be brought into this, right? I mean, you look at Facebook and Google and the amount of the digital ad market that they control and just their size and their scale. If there was one kind of industry area where they are dominant or could be perceived as dominant, I think it's going to be digital advertising. So I imagine that will be kind of where they get roped into this.